Former President Donald Trump told John Deere leaders he would change the financial landscape if they moved manufacturing out of the United States.
Donald Trump has just destroyed John Deere, and you won't believe the fallout. In an unexpected twist that no one saw coming, former President Donald Trump has stirred up a storm involving John Deere. This isn't just another political game, it's a seismic shift that has everyone talking. Trump issued a strong warning to John Deere about its plans, suggesting serious consequences if they proceed. People are left questioning how this clash will not only affect the future of John Deere, but also the complex fabric of American agriculture and manufacturing as a whole. What will it mean for the farmers stuck in limbo? Why would Trump go after a company so embedded in the American landscape? But what's happening? John Deere has announced that they're moving the making of skid steers and compact truck loaders right out of their Dubuque, Iowa facility. Instead, they'll be setting up a new facility in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. Trump is threatening to slap a whopping 200% tariff on John Deere's products if the company moves forward with its plans to shift some manufacturing operations to Mexico. This dramatic warning came during a lively campaign event in Pennsylvania, where Trump passionately emphasized the critical need to keep American manufacturing jobs on home soil. Now, why is John Deere, synonymous with American agriculture, making this bold move? It's part of a growing trend sweeping through the manufacturing industry. As companies like John Deere strive to stay competitive, many are opting to cut costs by relocating production to countries where labor is cheaper. It's a game changer, and let me explain why. What's the big deal? Let's take a closer look at what this means. For Iowa, this news carries weight, bringing uncertainty to the workers who might feel the brunt of this transition. It's hard not to think about the loyal workforce who've poured their sweat into these machines. They've been the backbone of the company, and now their jobs hang in the balance. With the manufacturing base changing, questions arise about the future of the Dubuque facility. What will become of it? On a broad scale, this move has implications beyond just John Deere. It highlights a significant shift in how manufacturing occurs in America. More companies are watching closely, perhaps preparing to follow suit. As labor costs continue to rise in the US, will other giants in the industry also reconsider where they produce their goods? It's a thought-provoking moment for anyone invested in the American manufacturing sector. The details reveal a bold accusation that John Deere is neglecting the very farmers that fueled its success. That's a serious blow, especially considering how much farmers have come to rely on John Deere's innovations. When a former president claims a company is letting down its most loyal customers, it ignites conversations and stirs emotions that can't be ignored. To truly understand the significance of this unfolding drama, it's essential to delve deeper into the critical issues at stake in American manufacturing today. The face-off between Trump and John Deere encapsulates the complex relationship between globalization and the vital need for domestic job preservation. Trump's strategy for threatening tariffs is grounded in three main reasons. But what's Trump's real goal here? Let's talk about the core of Trump's thinking when it comes to tariffs. There are three main reasons for Trump's rationale for tariffs. Protection of American jobs. By slapping high tariffs on imports, Trump's sending a clear message. It's more than just a political strategy. It's a passionate promise to fortify American jobs. Trump believes fiercely in his mission to protect and preserve American manufacturing jobs. This isn't a casual remark. It's the very backbone of his approach to trade and economic policy. The goal is to incentivize companies like John Deere to reconsider their production locations. Imagine this, those massive machines that farmers rely on. Trump wants them built right here in the US, not overseas. With this move, he's hoping to turn the tide against outsourcing and revive domestic manufacturing in a world that increasingly seems focused on cutting costs at the expense of American workers. At a recent rally, Trump didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear. If John Deere opts to manufacture their machinery domestically, then they won't face any tariffs. It's a tempting proposition wrapped in the allure of patriotism. The implication: companies have a straightforward decision ahead of them. They can choose to stand firmly alongside American workers and keep jobs within US borders, or they can risk outsourcing those jobs and face the financial repercussions of tariffs. What's at stake here is monumental, not just for John Deere, but for the entire manufacturing sector in America. The dynamics of the job market are shifting, and companies must grapple with the repercussions of their choices. Think of the ripple effects this could have. Actual jobs, real people's lives, and entire entire communities hanging in the balance. With so much riding on the outcome of these manufacturing decisions, it's a high-stakes game full of tension and uncertainty. Appeal for working-class voters. Trump sees this as a mission, almost a crusade aimed at protecting and preserving the lifeblood of American manufacturing jobs. This isn't a lighthearted comment or a passing thought. It's the fundamental principle guiding his entire trade and economic policy approach. When Trump imposes high tariffs on imports, he's sending out a laser-focused message. The intention here is clear. He wants companies, especially giants like John Deere, to rethink where they produce their machinery. Picture this scenario, those colossal machines that are vital to the farming community. Trump insists they should be manufactured right here in the United States, not sent overseas. With such a strategy, he hopes to flip the script on outsourcing and revive domestic manufacturing in an economy that increasingly prioritizes cost-cutting over American workers' well-being. Moreover, these tariffs extend far beyond just economic metrics or profit sheets. They symbolize an essential ideological struggle. On one side, we have the Trump administration ardently advocating for American interests. On the flip side, there's a globalized market that frequently opts for cheaper labor over ethical or local considerations. As these manufacturing battles unfold, one can't help but wonder how companies like John Deere will respond. Are they prepared to fully embrace their pivotal role in this narrative and commit to manufacturing on American soil? We are witnessing a critical turning point in the annals of American manufacturing history. As the clock ticks down and the political landscape continues to evolve, the choices made by influential companies could redefine the workforce of the future. Last but not least, leverage against foreign competition. In the past, Trump has rolled out similar tactics against foreign competitors like China. Remember those trade wars? They weren't just a mere blip on the radar. They were a calculated move to assert that American producers needed a fighting chance. Trump has argued vehemently that these tariffs are absolutely necessary to even the playing field. Think about it. When foreign goods are heavily subsidized by their governments, they can invade the market at prices that just crush American businesses. It's not just business. It's a matter of national economic integrity for him. Now, the implications of this approach stretch beyond just rhetoric. The threat of tariffs transforms into a chilling warning, one directed squarely at John Deere and other manufacturers who might be watching closely. It's not just about compliance. It's also about survival. Companies are left grappling with a tough reality. If they contemplate moving production overseas, they're not just risking their reputation, they're opening themselves up to a significant financial hit. Every decision counts in this high-stakes game. What does this mean in practical terms? For manufacturers, the pressure to stay domestic can be both a blessing and a curse. They might enjoy the newfound support from a strong buyer base that cherishes American-made goods, but they also need to weigh this against the looming threat of tariffs if they consider cheaper alternatives. The balancing act is razor thin. One misstep, and they could find themselves walking a fine line between profitability and patriotism. And here's the kicker. It's not just John Deere under the spotlight. Other manufacturers are keenly aware of these dynamics. They're considering their own strategies, weighing the potential consequences of their decisions. The tariff threat isn't merely an isolated issue. It reverberates across entire industries. This could lead to a chain reaction where companies scramble to support American jobs, fearing the backlash of not doing so. Now, you're probably wondering how the tariff will impact the hardworking farmers who feed the country. Well, let me tell you about what these trade policies mean for U.S. farmers, especially when it comes to their finances and equipment costs. Increased expenses. Let's start with the basics. Increased expenses. Sure, you've heard politicians claim that tariffs are designed to protect American jobs, but what if I told you this approach might be backfiring for farmers? Imagine a farmer trying to cultivate crops while facing rising costs for essential equipment. A real-life scenario we need to consider is the impact of tariffs on companies like John Deere, an iconic name in agricultural machinery. Farmers often depend on the latest and greatest machinery to boost their productivity and efficiency. However, when John Deere has to contend with punitive tariffs on its products that are exported back to the US, the repercussions can hit home hard. The company, facing higher costs, may have no choice but to pass those expenses on to farmers. This is where the numbers can get dicey. Prices for machinery could climb, squeezing the budgets of farmers who are already navigating murky financial waters. Tight margins are a common struggle for many farmers. Farming isn't just a yearly get-rich-quick scheme. Instead, farmers operate within a fiercely competitive market with razor-thin profit margins. When machinery prices rise due to external economic policies, it's not just a number on a spreadsheet, it translates to real stress in the fields where every dollar counts. For farmers depending on reliable machinery to get their crops in the ground and eventually to market, increased costs can mean the difference between a good season and a disaster. Not to mention, when farmers face higher operational costs, the fallout doesn't stop at their budgets. Increased machinery prices can lead to fewer farmers being able to invest in upgrades or new technology features, like precision farming methods that could better harness their land's potential. The innovation stall might result in diminished crop yields, which compounds the problem further. The cycle continues. Lower productivity could lead to higher prices for consumers and a reduced competitive edge for U.S. agriculture on the global stage. Farmers, especially those in rural areas, rely heavily on local economies. When costs for machinery and technology rise, it's often the local dealers and service providers who feel the effects too. They see reduced sales and client engagement, which can lead to closures and jobs lost in small communities. It's a complicated picture. Individual costs trickle upwards, affecting local economies and putting further strain on the agricultural landscape. Supply chain disruption. Now let's break down how tariffs mess with established supply chains. Think of it this way: farmers need reliable access to the equipment and parts that keep their operations humming smoothly. But when tariffs come into play, that's like throwing a wrench in the gears. These tariffs can create a perfect storm of delays that ripple through the entire system. It's not just about going to a store and picking up a tractor part anymore. Logistics become a nightmare. Imagine you're in the middle of planting season and suddenly you can't get a crucial piece of machinery to work because you're waiting for that vital replacement part. Just picture the stress. The clock is ticking and your crops won't wait. With the chaos that tariffs can cause, waiting weeks or even months for necessary equipment becomes an all too familiar scenario. For farmers, time is money, and delays could mean lost revenue, missed planting windows, or worse, lower yields when harvest rolls around. As farmers feel the pressure of rising costs and logistical delays, it begs the question, how are they supposed to manage their operations effectively? Many farmers are already wrestling with tight profit margins, making every financial decision critical. With the agricultural landscape becoming increasingly competitive, these new barriers might force some growers to reconsider their strategies entirely. Think about some of the ways farmers might adapt to this shifting landscape. Many may start opting for more local suppliers to mitigate the impacts of tariffs. After all, if you can't rely on international supply chains, it makes sense to find options closer to home. This could spark a renewed interest in supporting local manufacturers and suppliers. However, this pivot might also involve a bit of a learning curve as farmers navigate these new relationships and the inevitable hiccups that come with them. While tariffs aim to protect American jobs on paper, they require a much closer examination of their broader implications. Farmers are often the unsung heroes in conversations about economics and trade policies. They drive our food system, and their experiences with equipment acquisitions during turbulent times are essential in shaping future discussions. The ripple effect of tariffs is profound, but the tenacity of farmers is unmatched. Market uncertainty. For many farmers, the prospect of changing trade policies acts like a double-edged sword. On one hand, you've got the potential benefits. Protecting domestic markets and jobs sounds great in theory, but on the flip side, the real concern lies in the hesitation it creates for investing in the future. Just think about it for a minute. If you're a farmer weighing the decision to buy new equipment or expand your operation, how confident would you feel with a cloud of uncertainty hanging overhead? This constant state of flux can lead to second-guessing, holding back investments that could drive innovation and growth in the industry. When it comes to agriculture, timely and informed decision-making can mean the difference between a successful season and one spent scrambling for solutions. However, with fluctuating prices and availability based on tariffs and trade wars, it's easy for farmers to become gun-shy. This hesitation might lead to missed opportunities for upgrading technology, optimizing operations, or expanding to meet demand. After all, who wants to invest a chunk of their hard-earned cash if they're not sure what the future holds? Once this uncertainty seeps into the agricultural sector, it quickly spreads like wildfire. Farmers become reluctant to take risks, and that stunted innovation can slow down the whole industry. Let's face it, agriculture thrives on progress. Whether that's through implementing new farming techniques, adopting cutting-edge technology, or finding better ways to manage resources. When fear of tariffs looms, the resulting stagnation can have long-lasting implications. The ripple effects might not just impact individual farms, they can shape the future of our food system. Retaliation risks. When we talk about tariffs, we're not operating at a local base. It's a complex game played on an international stage. Trump's threats to impose tariffs could trigger a chain reaction, provoking retaliation from countries that export to the US, take Mexico for instance. It's a key trading partner for many US farmers. If they respond with tariffs of their own on American agricultural products, we could be looking at a tough road ahead. Picture this: a farmer who relies on those international markets suddenly finds that their products are facing a price spike in other countries, making it much harder to compete. The financial stability of these farmers hangs in the balance, creating a precarious situation where they have to juggle their revenue while navigating a confusing web of tariffs. The stakes are incredibly high. Imagine a farmer finally getting the chance to launch their prized crop into the international market, only to find that their competitors can now offer better prices than they can due to these unexpected tariffs. It's frustrating, to say the least. What might seem like high-level trade negotiations can feel like a direct attack on the livelihoods of those in the agricultural sector. It's crucial to understand the broader economic implications that tariffs have. Like a domino effect, when one country imposes tariffs, it leads to a series of responses from others. As countries push back, farmers in the US have to come to terms with the reality that their market access could be drastically reduced. That's not just a bump in the road, it's an obstacle that might take years to navigate. Now more than ever, it's essential to cultivate a strong understanding of how these tariffs play out and their repercussions in real time. For farmers, being informed is key. The more they know about potential pricing shifts and market access issues, the better positioned they'll be to make strategic decisions that keep their operations sustainable. It's like trying to read the weather patterns before planning a trip. You want to have your umbrella handy if storm clouds are looming on the horizon. Farmers are known for their adaptability and resilience. Even in the face of difficulties like market fluctuations and changing policies, they find ways to keep pushing forward. But that doesn't mean it's easy. The reality is that navigating these complexities requires a multifaceted approach. Farmers need support, whether through access to information, community resources, or policy advocacy that focuses on a clear understanding of the impacts of tariffs. Right to repair. Let's talk about the right to repair movement, which has been gaining ground in recent years, particularly among farmers fighting for their ability to repair and maintain their agricultural equipment without getting tangled up in red tape enforced by manufacturers. Think about it. Traditionally, companies like John Deere have created policies that compel farmers to rely on authorized dealers for repairs. This restrictive approach severely limits access to essential tools and information needed for maintenance. The result? A grassroots movement is bubbling up, fueling a fire of determination among farmers who are eager to reclaim control over their machinery and, by extension, their livelihoods. At the core of this movement lies a critical discussion about intellectual property. Manufacturers have strongly argued that the proprietary technologies embedded within equipment, like engine control units, are protected under intellectual property laws. This legal shield allows them to restrict access to vital repair information and tools, creating a kind of monopoly on repair services. You might wonder how this impacts farmers. Well, it forces them to rely on costly dealer services, making it a financial strain just to keep their equipment running smoothly. This scenario reflects a deeper tension between corporate interests and the autonomy that farmers seek. In response to these overwhelming challenges, various states across the country have started introducing right-to-repair legislation aimed at ensuring that farmers can access the necessary tools and software for repairs. Can you believe Colorado made history by becoming the first state to pass a law specifically targeting agricultural equipment? This law mandates that manufacturers provide access to diagnostic tools and repair manuals, ultimately empowering farmers to do what they need to get their equipment back up and running without the hassle of going through an authorized dealer. But it doesn't stop there. Farmers are not content to simply advocate for change through legislation. Many have also turned to legal action as a powerful means of regaining control over their repair rights. Their frustrations with restrictive practices have reached a boiling point, prompting them to seek justice in the courtroom. One notable case is Forest River Farms versus Deere and Custer, where a North Dakota farm took John Deere to court under antitrust laws. They claim the company has monopolized the repair market by effectively making essential software and tools inaccessible. The lawsuit alleges that John Deere's practices are driving up repair costs and causing delays that ultimately harm farmers' operations. With mounting legal battles, farmers have also sought legislative support to shore up their arguments. While some states have successfully passed right to repair laws, many proposals are stalling out due to fierce opposition from powerful agricultural equipment manufacturers and their lobbying groups. This tug of war truly highlights the ongoing struggle between farmers who are yearning for autonomy in repairs and corporations intent on maintaining their iron grip over their products. The challenges faced by this sector don't just impact farmers, they have far-reaching implications that could affect every single one of us in the long run. So let's break this down, shall we? Broader implication. You see, when manufacturers like John Deere keep tossing around high prices for new equipment and repairs, the ripple effect is bound to hit consumers right in the wallet. Have you ever noticed how your grocery bill seems to creep up just when you least expect it? That could be a direct result of farmers facing increased operational costs. When their expenses for equipment skyrocket due to limited competition, thanks to independent repair shops being sidelined, it's almost inevitable that these costs trickle down to consumers like you and me. Farmers trying to keep their heads above water might need to jack up their prices for the food they produce to cover those towering expenses. So what does that mean for everyday folks? Higher food prices and reduced affordability. It's as simple as that. Then there's the impact on small farms, which often struggle to stay afloat amidst these rising costs. These family-owned operations are the backbone of our food supply. However, they often run on razor-thin margins. If the costs of maintaining and owning vital agricultural equipment continue to rise, you can bet it's the small farmers who feel the pinch the most. Many of them simply can't compete with larger agricultural enterprises that benefit from economies of scale. As the costs pile up, we may see more and more small farms facing the grim reality of being pushed out of business. This could lead to a consolidation in the agricultural sector that ultimately erases the diversity that makes our food system so rich and vibrant. Have you ever thought about how this situation could stifle innovation too? It's a critical piece of the puzzle. Restrictive practices surrounding repairs can seriously hinder farmers' abilities to modify or upgrade their equipment. Imagine missing out on game-changing technologies just because the manufacturer won't let you access the tools or parts you need. If farmers can't easily make tweaks to their machinery, it's not just their operational efficiency that suffers, it's the entire industry's potential for growth and innovation. The farming community thrives on progress, and without the freedom to innovate, they may fall behind in the face of advancing technology and evolving market demands. And then there's the tension building up between US manufacturers like John Deere and political figures, especially when it comes to tariffs and manufacturing practices. As these pressures mount, the implications go beyond a single industry. They signal potential disruption in global trade relations. If tariffs are imposed on imports, you can expect a tit-for-tat scenario where trading partners respond with their tariffs, which can lead to a complicated mess of retaliatory measures. Not only could that affect manufacturers stateside, but it would also shake the very foundations of international supply chains that farmers rely on to get their products to market. Do you think Trump's approach will effectively protect American jobs, or do you think it will create more challenges for farmers? Let us know in the comment.